How about, you mentioned during lunch that there are certain actors that you'd love to work with, like Meryl Streep. She's one of the ones, I believe, that who would,
The Queen.
of course. But what do you look for? Now, you can't always pick and choose a role, obviously. You can't say, I want to work with him and I don't want to work with him.
I wish one of these days.
Right. Yeah, you'll get there when you do. But until you do get there, what do you look for in the actor when you're working with the actor? I was taught always to work off of the other actor, to be in the moment with the other actor. What kinds of things do you look for?
See, it's exactly what you're talking about. It's the other actor being receptive and being giving. Again, also, you'll work with some people in this business that just are takers. And you'll get that immediately, right in the first rehearsal. You say, oh, this guy's a taker. And instead of giving to the scene and giving to the actor, they're always looking to take. And it's something that you can't explain. You know, you don't want that in the other actor. You know, one of the basics of that acting is listening. You know, it's listening to the other guy, listening to the actor, and that's how the scene moves along, is by being a good listener. So once again, if you happen to get stuck with somebody that's a taker, you do your work. You go to craft services, you check out, and you go home, you say, thank God I got a day's work at least, you know, and I did my job, I did the best I could do, you know.
Can you, without mentioning any names, unless you want to mention the names, can you speak a little bit about specific conflicts that you've had that have made this job that you love to do difficult?
I'll give you one quick little story. One of my first Law and Orders, and should I name names? No, I'm not gonna name names. One of my first Law and Orders, you guys all know who in the early Law and Order, right? You guys know who the detectives and the cops in the early Law and Orders, right? Well, I got this scene, maybe 7 or 8 lines, day play of work. I'm a crime scene guy, and my lines were detective, sergeant, lieutenant, whatever it was, ba 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 ba, and I take them to the body into the hallway. Now, the two leads in the show are standing side by side. My first line was singular. So it was, I don't remember if it was detective or sergeant or lieutenant, but it was definitely singular, you know? So I made the choice as an actor, since one guy was here and one guy was behind him, to say that first word to the guy that was in front for blocking purpose. So I said, sergeant, ba 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 ba, and then we went to go lead them into the hallway. So the director yells, cut. Right after cut, the actor that I didn't say sergeant to says, Lou, do me a favor. I'm kind of feeling left out. When you come up to us, can you please split the sergeant between me and him? I'm like, okay, I'll split the word sergeant. Now, first of all, the last thing you want to hear from another actor is direction. The director is the one that's supposed to be directing. Now, if this actor had a problem with me not splitting the word sergeant with him, he should have went up to the director and said, would you mind if Lou said sergeant to both of us? Whatever. Being a new kid on the block, I was just like, yeah, absolutely, I'll split it. Next take. I go up to the 2 actors. Once again, there's one actor here, the other actor's off his shoulder. So now I'm conscious of splitting the word sergeant. So I'm like, sergeant, which could probably look ridiculous on camera, but this is what I do, because if you're looking at a block and you're scared and the star of the show says do it that way, you do it that way. So I go, sergeant, lead him to the table. Wouldn't you know it, as soon as we cut, the first actor says, Lou, why are you not looking at me when you say sergeant? So I call the director over. Yeah, can we explain this, why I'm doing this, why they're asking me to do this? So they had a little ego thing, which these 2 actors probably known for back in the day when they were doing the show. They were always butting heads about camera time and all that kind of stuff. So, but over a word, why are you not looking at me when you're saying sergeant? So,
now, have you ever had any direct, and then I'm going to turn it over to you guys, because it's just like you and me. We just should have some coffee here.
Without the pastrami.
We don't need anything. Have you ever had any directors working like a style like Kazan, where they feel, not just with you, but anybody else on the set, where they're not getting what they want from the actor is either dry or just can't get to that result that the director needs, and the director has to tweak them, and they play like maybe use some kind of a technique on the actor to get what they need from him? Have you experienced anything like that?
Yeah, I've experienced it a lot. You see directors, I've seen directors quit. I've literally seen them do 14 takes and just say to the AD, it's like, well, that's the best way to get out of this guy. Because it's all about money. It's all about time and money. And no matter how bad he may want something, if he's not getting it, they can't spend, 40 takes on a guy doing 2 lines a certain way or whatever. It happens all the time where, for the sake of money, the directors don't get what they want, the actors don't get what they want, There's so many times where you want another close-up, but you just feel it from the crew. If you ask for another close-up, you're going to get killed, you're going to get strangled. Like, you want to go home. There's no way you're doing a close-up. So that has a lot to do with it. So you see it all the time.
Because it sounds also what you're saying, I mean, you got into this business because you love to act.
Right.
And part of the joy of acting is being able to play with the other actors, to find that creative note that you want to hit when you're working in a scene. Do you get to do that with some?
Well, that's why actors say we're really getting paid for all the crap that we're doing when we're not acting. When you're actually playing the scene, whether it be on stage or you're doing your little television thing, your little film thing, when you're playing the scene, that's the easy thing. That's the enjoyment for the love. That's the enjoyment. What you get paid for is to be sitting in your trailer for 4 hours, eating, Twizzlers and all that. That's the crap that you got to deal with, unfortunately, because it is show business. So.
Do you have a preference of which genre you like to work in, be it TV or film or stage? A lot of people say, I love the...
I love stage, but all the money's been on television. And that's the great stage actors of the day. That separates the men from the boys. When you're doing a play, when you're up there for 2 hours, 20 minutes in character, there's nothing like it. That's who should be getting the big bucks. Not the guys doing the TV series and things like that.
But it doesn't play, because a lot of the people that come to me and call me say, I don't want to do stage, I just want to do film and TV, and I always tell them, well, you're going to really make your bones, and you're going to learn the craft of acting like all the great actors did on the stage. So now that I've said that, and Lou and I have kind of warmed up over here, I want to turn this over to you, although I can't see anyone, so you're just going to have to shout out your questions. Anybody have any questions that they'd like to ask Lou?
What is, in your career, what is probably the most difficult role that you think you've ever taken? Be it stage or film or whatever.
Yeah, there's been a few. I just recently did an industrial. I don't know if you guys are familiar with industrial. Industrial is a film which a company will make to maybe show their sales force or people that work in a company. And I just did a short film where I played a schizophrenic. This is the second time I played a schizophrenic. I actually played a schizophrenic in a stage play too. I would have to say, playing a schizophrenic, is the most difficult thing you ever want to do in your life, because you literally, and I don't even know how, to this day I talk about it, I don't know how I did it. When I showed up to set for the first day, I was doing it in Indianapolis for the drug company Lou. When I got to the set, and the set was my house where these characters supposedly lived in, and what they had this set looking like, with the 2-week-old food, and the trash up to here, and the garbage, and the stink, they did a great job with the set. When I walked in a set, I'm saying to myself as an actor, I have no idea how I'm even going to stand in here and attempt to do a scene with this garbage all around me. But as an actor, as a schizophrenic, I don't know if you know anything about schizophrenia, the thing about a schizophrenic is he would walk into his room and these are all his possessions. This is his. He doesn't think of it as garbage or slime or 2-week-old food. It's just, it's tuna fish that's been there for 2 weeks. It's mine. It's my tuna fish. It belongs to me. It's mine. So to go there as an actor, to find that place where I had owned all that stuff, was an amazing journey as an actor. I mean, literally, when I did that piece, and I also did a play where I played a schizophrenic. And at the end of the play ended where I took a gun to my head, and the lights would go down, and we'd leave it up to the audience pretty much if there wasn't a gunshot or anything. We'd leave it up to the audience if you think this character committed suicide at the end. And I remember it would take me literally about 15 minutes every night after the curtain went down just to go sit back and find Louis again, just to find me again, as opposed to what I had just gone through for 2 hours playing this guy who really didn't know who he was. He didn't have a self. So that was the two most difficult things.
How did you learn to think like a schizophrenic?
It's about putting voices in your head. Because even when they're on medication and they're doing really well, they always hear the voices, which is a scary thing. So I put voices in my head. I put gibberish in my head. And the hard thing about it was when I put the voices in my head in the beginning, it was hard to concentrate on what I was doing because I let the voices affect me. So I had to find a place where I was ignoring the voices that I was putting in my head, if that makes any sense to you. You'd have to ignore the stuff to get through the actual actions of the scene that I was doing. It was fun. It was great as an actor.
Did that affect your focus when you were working off whatever it was, whether it was the objects in the room or the other actor? Did you find that what you were putting in your head was taking you out of the moment, or was it helping you?
At first, yes. At first, like I said, I had to get to that place where I actually, the stuff I was putting in there, I had to get through it and ignore it. So when I first started, when I first did the research and first started working on the character, just doing stuff on my own, all the stuff that I put up here, the voices and the fears and the bugs and all that kind of stuff that you put in your head. I just had to somehow get them from to back here to be a functioning schizophrenic, which I was in this piece.
And then you were able to flow after that.
Yeah. After the first day, after the first couple of hours, I guess I locked in, and I don't know, they were happy with my work, so I guess I did an okay job.
I'm sure you did.
What you're teaching, where does this stem from? Is it Meisner? Is it
A little bit of everything. I'm one of those guys where I've taken a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of this, because I've been to so many classes. I walked out of a couple acting classes when I was younger. I walked into one class, and this guy's famous for this, but he's a very heavy instrument guy, breathing guy. And we would literally spend 45 minutes to an hour just sitting there breathing. And I went through this twice, and I'm saying to myself, I kind of understand what he's doing, but I says, you know what, for me, it's not working for me. This is not going to help me become a better actor. And I think as an actor, especially a young actor, you're going to get a lot of stuff thrown at you, a lot of different teachers, a lot of different styles, and we're all individuals. Even though we may be pursuing the same thing as an actor, we're still all individuals, and you're going to have to pick and choose what's going to help you as a person get to the point where you want to be as far as character development goes and an actor, things like that. So I've studied everything, and like I said, pick and choose here, and that works for me. Oh, this really works for me, so I'm using this. This doesn't work for me, so I'm not using that at all.
So they should come to me.
So they should come down.
On a film or television set, how would you go about requesting rehearsal time with another actor? Because I noticed that time it's a business, and I never feel like you're able to request that.
Every show, every film and stuff is a different animal. For example, a lot of times now, in the position I find myself now, the people that I'm working with, I've worked with before, which is also a great advantage. So if I'm doing a scene with two guys I've worked with before, it's no big deal to go knock on the door and say, Joey, you want to go run the scene before, you know what I'm saying? So if you have that familiarity before with the people you've worked with, that's great. If you're walking out to a set of Law & Order and you're doing day player work or whatever, you're doing two scenes, it's really not in your position to go knock on Mariska Hargitay's door and say, Mariska, you want to go run lines, you know? Although, you know what? She's great. She'd probably be open to it if somebody did knock on the door, because she's a very, one of those giving type actresses, you know?
So, I mean, it's just impossible to kind of have your craft together and just be ready for anything?
Yeah, be ready for anything. Yeah, be ready for everything. Be prepared, you know, because that's two things that they want, you know, when you show up on a set, especially on these TV shows, because everybody's been there for years or months or whatever, but you know? So you got to make sure you know your lines, you're prepared, you hit your mark, and you're professional, you know, and it'll be fine.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Anybody else?
There's, from what I read in the papers, there's always been a lot of talk about how economics is destroying live theater. What do you see as the future of live theater, and what reforms would you propose to ensure its viability?
Well, we just got the bad news this week in general with the tax cuts that the New York State had this terrific tax incentive program, and it brought a lot of business here in the last 5 years. I mean, after 9/11, we had struggled for a few years, both stage-wise and film-wise. And, you know, it's like we're the only country in the world that really doesn't support its arts like everybody else. Mm-hmm. And it's really an unbelievable situation where there's so much good work that doesn't get seen, it doesn't get noticed, that's going on at the you know, the free showcases that are being done and things like that. And I don't know how to fix it unless, like I said, Tony Randall years ago tried to start a national theater,
Yes, yeah.
which was a great idea, and that didn't work. You know, so I don't know what the answer is other than people just you know, getting involved, supporting their local theater. If you live out in Montclair State, you know, maybe you sign up for the season in Montclair State and go to all the shows in Montclair State so they can continue to have the season and then get involved in your actual community. It seems like every community has their own little theater or space where people go and do work, whether it be plays or karaoke or pottery or something like that. I think you just got to get there and support the arts as individuals, because right now it's as far as group-wise goes and statewide, and like we said, there's not as much support for the arts as there should be in this country.